What's up, Average Dad fans? Welcome back to another video, and today we're talking phones. Not just any phones, every phone I have ever owned from 1998 through to 2021. That's where we're at. Something a bit different. Stay tuned if you want to know more about every phone I've ever owned, plus the whole evolution of mobile telecommunications over the last 24-ish years. Let's go. So, first things first, disclaimer, I have not kept these phones from when I originally bought them. I think that's fairly obvious, but I just want to say that I am not that organised or forward thinking. Most of the phones you're about to see were purchased through eBay or Gumtree here in the UK, or given to me. And also some I have managed to keep, but those are more recent ones. So now I've got that out of the way, let's talk about my first phone. 1998 was the year, and this was my first phone. The Phillips, I'm going to call it a Phillips C70, but actual description and title is here. This phone represented an absolute change in communication. This, not only my first phone, this was pretty much one of the first truly mobile phones ever. So as I say, 1998 was the year. The French World Cup had gone on, France won it. I travelled to France with said mobile phone, which didn't work in France. Again, we'll get to why. Also, you'll notice no camera technology here, no internet. I want to say it's like a 0.5 inch screen, but what this phone was, as far as a change in communication, this represented the fact that I didn't have to phone my friend's house and ask his mum or dad if they were there and if they were coming out to play. This phone meant that I didn't have to speak, God forbid, to a female that I perhaps liked face to face. I could send her a text, and after the text was sent, wait for hours, or what certainly seemed like hours, for a reply, constantly checking the phone to see if there was a reply. Even though it has tones on it, I would have heard it, but still. Comment down below if you remember those initial butterfly feelings waiting for a response from a potential loved one. So that was my first ever phone. Following the Philips phone being the one and only phone that had a built-in or external antenna, I moved on to the world of Nokia. Much like pretty much everybody on the planet, this small Finnish firm must have churned out over 100 phones in its lifetime, and 60% of that seemed to be within the years of 1999 to 2004-ish. So I've got quite a few Nokias here. I'm not going to spend too much time going through them all in great detail, and again, I'm going off memory. After the BT Cellnet phone was this, the Nokia 3210. This one, again, a step up in 1999 because this one had, I would say that's a 1-inch screen. Crazy that camera sensors are like that size. But anyway, a 1-inch screen. It had customizable ringtones. It had Snake. You could play games on a phone. For me, the first time. It also was an indestructible unit, or at least this was the indestructible king until Nokia released the 3310. Again, this one, slightly clearer screen. Customizer ringtones, Snake. I believe this had Snake 2 as well as other games. All obviously key 1 to like the T9 spelling systems, properly great phones. So Nokia was just my world. Nokia helped me fail at texting more women. So on from the Nokia 32 and 3310, we have Nokia 8210. This, to this day, is one of the coolest little phones ever because it's so compact. I love its small design. I love the fact that phone calls made more sense on this in that you could hear, obviously, the advancements in technology as far as antenna and call quality had started to be implemented in a mobile phone, and this truly was one of the smallest devices I had used, or it was the smallest mobile phone I'd used to this point, and this was roughly the year 2000 to 2001. Love this little phone. FYI, these all still work in that they turn on and you can play Snake on every single Nokia 20 plus years later for some of them. So after the 8210, what happened was I moved up in the world. So in 2002, the next World Cup, I want to say, was like with Japan, had taken place, and this phone was a marketing powerhouse. So Vodafone, I think exclusively in the UK, released this phone. David Beckham, I remember vividly, I remember the advertisements on the telly. David Beckham advertised this phone and showed it off and maybe even used it. Probably would have, because it was the best phone in the market at the time. And it was the Sharp GX10. So I retract what I said before, because this has an external aerial. But my first ever flip, listen. That's still so satisfying. Not only does it have nearly 2 inches of screen, I'd say, or at least 1.5, it's got an external display. It's effectively the Samsung Z Fold 3 Flip, but 20 years older, or 19. It's insane. And it's got, obviously, its camera can be taken like that, or you can take external pictures, but if you look, it's got a mirror. It's got a selfie mirror. Unbelievable. This phone was a complete game changer. This phone was in colour. This phone was the first one for me that done MMSs, multimedia messages. So no longer was I texting women. I could send them pictures of cars and stuff. Yes, the first phone for me that could send and receive picture messages, voice notes, and the ultimate flex, if I had a spare 4 hours, I could download a picture using the internet on this phone. Again, I'm going to say this a lot, one of my favourites. And then things are ramping up quite a lot here. I want to show you this while I'm here. I'm sure I'll skip all this in editing, but my next phone was the best designed phone ever, and it was, boom, the Motorola V3 Razer. By the way, got this on eBay. Charging cable, booklets, special retail box, and phone, I believe unused, and I got this on eBay. Super proud of that. That ain't coming out of its case. So I had that in 2003. Unbelievable. And by the way, I think in 2004 or late 2003, I also bought the black version of the V3 Razer. So Motorola, we all know who Motorola are, massive phone manufacturer. It's one of the first phones I bought from Motorola. And again, you think of the Z Fold Flip, today. External screen, where you can view messages, notifications and pictures. Also, a 1.2 megapixel camera, so the first one to go to that million pixels, and a larger, I'd say we're definitely at the 2-inch screen now, but again, I want to talk about hinges nowadays. Hinges are an ongoing thing. You've got seams when it comes to like the screens folding. Obviously back then, these clamshell phones, it wasn't the screen folding, but look at that. How satisfying is it to, I absolutely love this phone. In fact, I wish I could use this phone all the time, but you ain't getting apps on this. Which is a very good point. To this point, no phone had apps or an app store. As you all know, Apple came along with iOS, Google Play Store came along just a bit later than this phone, but no apps, so it was all the local, still applications, and nothing you could buy externally or purchase from yet. The V3 Razer, just beautiful. By the way, if you owned any of these phones, if you owned any different phones that you want to talk about, pop them in the comments below, or give me recommendations on things I should buy and review. What I really want to do, Mr. Mobile does this, Michael Fisher, he reviews old phones and old tech. I love that, because I just want to highlight from 1998 to 2003, 5 years, phones went from that to this. In my opinion, not one single piece of technology took such a giant leap in such a short period of time. And I stand by that. I've thought about lots of things. I've thought about games consoles, cars, anything that uses AI nowadays. 5 years is such a short period of time to go from this to this. Just incredible. When you think that, bear with me a second here. Yeah, when you think that it then took 18 years to get from this, dbrand skin, not a sponsor, dbrand sponsor me, to this, yes, the technology in the Google Pixel 6, the camera sensor, the 5G connectivity, all that other stuff has been great, but you honestly tell me which phone you prefer the design of. And you honestly tell me, does this take calls just as well as this? Can it send a message just as well as this? It's actually more tactile with this. Oh, I just love this phone. Look at the design of it. It's so just sci-fi. So yeah, again, I know we've come a long way. Technological advancements have come such a long way. I'm aware of this. But for me, the golden period was those early noughties periods. So I digress, I continue on. So Motorola V3, I went back to Nokia very briefly for nearly a year with the Nokia N95. So this phone had one of the first phones to be focused on sort of like music and media. So when you swipe down, you've got your media controls, and obviously it was a slide phone, revealing the full T9 keyboard and touch. The speakers on this were pretty good, and I believe this phone went up to a 5 megapixel camera. So it was essentially a digital camera in your pocket that you could also receive calls from. And the N95 was, again, I believe, a 3G phone, released just a wee bit before the original iPhone, which wasn't 3G as we know. Or was it just 2G? No, I think iPhone was one of the first 3Gs. Anyway, that seamlessly, should have fact checked that. Fact check it, tell me in the comments below. I then seamlessly move on to the world of Apple. My first ever iPhone was, I have the box, as I say, I try and buy everything with box. the Apple iPhone 3G. Look at it. Full disclaimer, fact, I didn't have the black variant. They actually came out with a white variant back in 2009, 11, whenever it was. And yeah, I had the white variant. So again, from there, I don't actually have the iPhone 4 in my possession, but I did own the iPhone 4. I owned the iPhone 5S. I owned the iPhone 6S. Don't have it here. Skip the 7, skip the 8, owned the 10, don't have that. So you'll notice that the more recent iPhones I don't have because I ain't forking out the money just to display them. What I did do though, this is when I started to keep phones. So the 10S Max I just kept. And now I'm on to the 12 Pro Max. And as you've seen already, I have the Google Pixel 6, not the 6 Pro, because I've got the 12 Pro Max, I don't need 2 Pro phones. Absolutely love this phone. So when you look at it, it was all kind of Android-y, although Android wasn't out. iOS didn't exist until early 2000s, 2010, 2012. So it was all native softwares. What I did do is I switched from iOS to one and only time actually, Blackberry. Not entirely, well I know why I bought the phone because I absolutely love the look of it and the screen size is absolutely huge, especially for the time back in like 2017. The Blackberry Passport to me is still, so Oppo just released a fold phone. It's weird because when I'm looking at the videos that I've just dropped today from Lou and Aaron, and now Marquez, it's literally just came up as a notification. The form factor when it's unfolded, the Oppo phone, I think they're almost like the Passport was ahead of its time in that this is the ideal form factor. When you look at the Z Fold 3, the screen real estate you get for consuming media is actually less than you'd get on a S21 Ultra or a 12 Pro Max. Just the way of the aspect ratio, whereas the Passport done a really good job of going full screen with media. The speakers were horrendous, the camera was worse than the speakers, but consuming some media with headphones, because it did have a headphone jack, was actually quite pleasurable. Yeah, Blackberry Passport. So what's next? That's been my phones from now back to 1998. What is next for me? Well, it's not the 13 Pro Max, as I've already said in previous videos. The step from 12 to 13 wasn't big enough for me. I've got a higher refresh rate phone in the Google Pixel 6 anyway. The 14 looks like it's going to represent a step up because it probably will have a hole punch camera. Camera technology is as good as, to me, as good as it can possibly get for a long time, because we're at kind of like a precipice. Now it just is going to turn into like, oh yeah, there's 108 megapixel camera, 100 times zoom. It's, well, what are we actually going to use? For me, the iPhone 13 Pro Max and the S21 Ultra represent, as I say, kind of the pinnacle of what I think can be achieved through a mobile phone. So what am I looking for from a phone going forward? Well, something different, I think. And if it wasn't for the fact that I am an iOS sheep, it would have been the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 3. That would have been my phone of 2021 and probably every other variant they bring out after. But I am an Apple sheep. So what do I want? I want Apple to bring out a flip phone in the next 3 to 5 years. That would be awesome, please, Timothy. Yeah, listen, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it's brought back some great memories, some nostalgia looking back at these old phones. Again, get interactive, let me know in the comments what phone you had, what's your favourite phone. So to clarify, my favourite ever phone is the Motorola V3 Razer. What was yours? If you like this video and want to see more content like this or on more up-to-date tech unboxings and reviews, then hit the subscribe button. Also, if you want to see more detail about any of the phones, drop a comment below and I'll happily make either a short or a long form video detailing the specs of a particular phone. None of these phones are for sale, so don't even ask. None of these phones are going to be given to you, so please don't ask. Yeah, if anyone wants to send me an iPhone 4 or an iPhone 6S or an iPhone X, DM me, comment, whatever the kids say. Thank you very much for walking to look after your health, and thank you very much for watching. Take care. See you next time. Peace.